Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
If you tuned in last week, I came out here to shoot the show, and I was going to talk about how there's no mistaking that spring is in the air. Then, true to form, Montana said, The wind started blowing, and I started to get slapped in the face with large snowflakes. This week, the pendulum swung the other way, and we saw record warm temperatures. But now, as we're into the weekend, we're looking at some cool down and also the chance of wintry precipitation. Weather plays such a big role in the Treasure State, and seasonal shifts can often be tricky. Climate and temperature and moisture can play a big role in the upcoming fire season. Fires are burning in places we aren't used to seeing them, like on the east coast of the country, and out of season. Closer to home, the devastating Horse Gulch fire has found its way into the courtroom after costing millions of dollars, evacuating close to 1,000 from their homes, and taking the life of a firefighting operations pilot. Speaking of forests, with upcoming tariffs on Canadian lumber, we're going to find out how that might affect Montana loggers and home builders. For MTN Outdoors, I'm Keith Greven.
The main fire season for Montana is just a few months away, but did you know that the normally humid east coast of the United States has a fire season too? Several fires over 1,000 acres have already burned through late winter and early spring in the Atlantic states. Let's dive into some of these fires and what's causing them to become so impactful. Florida, New Jersey, and the Carolinas are dealing with destructive wildfires that have burned thousands of acres. In the Sunshine State, crews are dealing with more than 60 active fires that have led to 29,000 acres of subtropical forest burned. The fires in the Carolinas are smaller, but no less destructive. 3 fires have combined to about 3,000 acres in western North Carolina. There was also a 2,000-acre fire disrupting the popular tourist destination of Myrtle Beach. Also complicating containment efforts are downed trees left in the wake of Hurricane Helene last September, leaving thousands under evacuation orders and air quality alerts. The Northeast isn't spared either. In New Jersey, where they are experiencing extreme drought, a 2,300-acre fire torched the Wharton State Forest. These fires and others have combined to make an active start to the year for firefighters. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, almost 12,000 fires have been reported through March 21st, compared to last year, which saw 3,900 through the same period. But there is an area that has seen improvement. Overall, land burned is down by about 1.2 million acres. The spring season is usually the driest for the East Coast, with less overall large-scale storm systems entering the region. Conditions should improve, however, as we shift from a La Niña pattern to a more neutral pattern. La Niña usually brings drier and warmer conditions, while the switch to a more in-between pattern will usher in more moisture. And now, you're a little more weather-wise.
A Lewis and Clark County judge ordered 3 years of probation for an 18-year-old who admitted his involvement in starting last summer's Horse Gulch fire.
I am aware of the horrifying circumstances of his negligent actions. $20 million in damages, the death of a pilot, disruption of so many lives.
Judge Kathy Seeley oversaw the case in juvenile court as the defendant was 17 years old at the time of the allegations. And because of his age, MTN will not be identifying the teen. According to an affidavit from Lewis and Clark County, the United States Forest Service received tips from a social media post asking for information about the Horse Gulch fire. These tips led officers to interviewing several juveniles, one of which court documents say admitted to starting the Horse Gulch fire with the defendant by trying to prepare a spot for a bonfire.
We determined through our investigation that he lit the grass on fire, put it out. He thought he had it out cold, but obviously it wasn't out cold because it later ignited what would become the Horse Gulch fire.
Investigators also found roughly 30 used bottle rocket type fireworks in the area where the fire started, which the defendant admitted to shooting off. The affidavit says the teens left after they thought they put the fire out, but soon after they saw a plume of smoke coming from the area. The defendant admitted to investigators that he said not to tell anyone because they would get in a lot of trouble.
I don't think he went up there with the intention to burn the world down.
After the allegations against the defendant were made, he spent time in a juvenile detention center, and once he was released, he was supervised by a probation officer. She said the defendant broke the conditions of his release once by leaving the county without permission when he was ticketed for crashing a vehicle, and the other when he was not where he told his probation officer he would be. The defendant's attorney pleaded with Seeley, saying his client understands the seriousness of what happened. At the end of the disposition hearing, Judge Seeley placed the defendant on probation until he turns 21, with conditions including no access to fire-starting materials like matches, lighters, and fireworks, not having access to U.S. Forest Service property or National Forest Service lands without approval from the district's ranger, and 100 hours of community service. The defendant volunteered to pay $2,700 in restitution to the Office of Juvenile Probation. Lewis and Clark County Sheriff Leo Dutton said with the severity of the case, he was hoping for a harsher punishment.
I felt let down. There are laws that restrict the amount of punishment that you can give a juvenile. I understand that, but I felt frustrated.
The Lewis and Clark County Attorney's Office says 2 other juveniles could be facing charges for the Horse Gulch fire. In Helena, I'm Allie Kaiser, MTN News.
We're here at Montana Custom Millwork, which makes specialized products. The owners say, well, it may not directly affect this business. They do say that tariffs could have a big impact and help keep the lumber and timber industry viable.
I used to just come and sit in the sawmill and have my morning cup of coffee because the smell of fresh cut wood is so good, you know?
Nick Chason and his wife own Montana Custom Millwork.
I love sawmilling.
He says potential tariffs would help the bigger sawmills, along with the rest of the timber and lumber industry.
When the tariffs come into play, it levels the playing field for American sawmilling.
The National Association of Home Builders states that lumber and wood products account for 15% of construction, and tariffs would add more to the costs. Jason Todhunter of the Montana Loggers Association says lumber and wood account for between 4% and 18% of the costs.
It is going to drive the house up a little bit, but if you look at the whole picture, I don't think it would have as huge of an impact.
Tariffs are only going to add 15 cents more per board foot to a stick of lumber.
Both Chason and Todhunter say the U.S. will not see much effect until the demand for housing increases.
If the demand is there, the U.S. worker and the U.S. businessman usually answers the demands.
Those in the industry say the tariffs will keep many sawmills and loggers in business.
If the larger sawmills in Montana aren't buying enough logs to keep the loggers busy, and we lose loggers, then our business will lose loggers as well.
The American Loggers Association estimates 50 sawmills have closed since the beginning of last year, but says that list may not include all the closures across the country. Todhunter says that number is higher.
It's well over 100 large mills nationwide have gone down, in 2024.
Todhunter and Chason say the tariffs will help the U.S. economy.
Canada is definitely a competitor with the U.S. for logging and lumber. If a tariff goes on them, it makes the U.S. product more attractive and makes the consumer choose that.
The whole point of the tariffs is bring manufacturing back to the United States and put more money in American pockets.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. We'll be right back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
As the seasons change, so do the activities. I made sure to get out there and ski while I could, and so did people of all ages. After a few days, boy was I sore, and it had me thinking, how do people just twice my age do this? The cold is good for you though, and cold plunges are all the rage. But some people are finding a reason for the freezing. Raising money for a good cause like the Special Olympics is a good enough reason for me. Last week, we told you about the Irish national sport of hurling. This week, we're going to get into Montana's adoption of another fierce contact sport, rugby, the national sport of the Down Under.
While the terrain may change daily at Snow Bowl, there's one thing that's stayed the same over the years. A group of loyal skiers, and they're now in their 70s and 80s, still ripping.
I've been skiing for 73 years now. It's part of me.
If you ride the lift up at Snow Bowl on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, you may see a group of more than 15 senior skiers, ranging from their early 70s to late 80s, staying young.
It's wonderful. And we aren't always cheering each other on, but we're always enjoying each other's company one way or another.
Many, like Janet Allison and Juliet Crump, took their first turns at Snow Bowl.
Didn't really know how to ski. They took me down Spartan, and I was in tears. But I kept doing it with my family, and I just kept doing it and doing it.
And some members are integral parts of the mountain's history, like Donna Thomas, who started Snow Bowl's For Women Only program and has taught many Missoulians how to ski.
Close for the first thing, but it's got interesting terrain.
Many are in pursuit of the perfect ski turn, and to do so, they need to keep their bodies healthy enough to hit the slopes.
I spin, I bike, and I ski.
I think part of it is genetics, but just working out at a gym and gardening in the summer.
I do lots of exercise in off time and just do the weekday pass.
But for 87-year-old Don Murray, the oldest of the bunch, he just keeps on skiing, trying to never take a season off.
I do some stretches, but beyond that, I don't do any workout.
While each of the skiers got into the sport for a different reason, they're all thankful it brought them together. In Missoula, Emily Brown, MTN News.
Sheridan's weather was too nice today for a polar plunge.
In other states, they're known as polar plunges. We choose the jackalope because that's very Wyoming specific.
Let's try that again. The weather was too nice today for a jackalope jump.
Not as nasty as it could be. It's a pretty nice day for this time of year.
Almost on cue, Mother Nature decided to turn down the heat. A little hail, a little drama, only raised the excitement.
Thinking it's going to be cold.
For 18 years, the Sheridan sheriffs and fire departments have been helping locals get to freezing for a reason.
We used to jump through a hole in the ice at Lake DeSmet, and it turns out it's a little easier to convince people to jump in a pool, what we call the onion skin, our little portable pool.
This event has raised anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000 for Wyoming's Special Olympics.
The funds that we raise for this go to help offset the cost of training and traveling to the events.
Maybe that's why when it was time I fled to the car, everyone else still seemed so cozy.
How was it? Wonderful. Refreshing.
It's nice. We take it to last. Should do it again.
The freeze simply melts away with such warm hearts.
I realize there's no more genuine thank you, tighter hug, or better high five than from a Special Olympic athlete.
Once you try it, you always come back. You meet folks that will be lifetime friends.
Marcus Kukova, MTN News.
The sport of rugby has a dedicated following in Montana, and here in Helena, the sport has been growing exponentially, creating new opportunities for the city's youth to play and to learn at the collegiate level. Rugby is held in a special place in Helena, not only at Centennial Park where the Helena Youth Rugby Club practices at, but in the heart of its members.
It's a really good feeling to kind of see your club go to the next level and elevate not only your kids but your community.
Helena Youth Rugby is a growing club, gaining over 20 members since last year.
Now we've grown to, I believe, 103 registrations. It's what we've always dreamed of.
Bringing in players from all different parts of the Helena Valley, from high schoolers down to elementary students.
All the boys have they've let us in with open arms, and it's been awesome ever since. It's a great group of guys that help us out every day.
Yeah, definitely, just taking us in, teaching us the basics, It's just like a brotherhood, really.
Helena Youth Rugby is part of the Montana Youth Rugby Union. It's a league where teams from across the Treasure State gather together to compete. It's a platform for these athletes to showcase their skills and open up opportunities for collegiate play. And that's exactly what happened for East Helena High School seniors Patrick Colpon and Nathan Mose, who have been part of the program since middle school. They've recently committed rugby to teams at Central Washington and Boise State.
It's just a really big deal for not just me and Patty to go to college, but for everyone who plays.
Colpon says it's an honor to be part of the growth of the sport in the Queen City and also a role model to the younger teammates.
Being a part of that evolution of rugby in Helena, Montana, it's crazy. Seeing a lot of kids developing and learning to love the sport who are going to get opportunities to go play in college and get a good education out of it.
Helena youth rugby organizers say that they're always looking for new members to join with no experience needed. In Helena, Ryan Berg, MTN News.
You're watching MTN Outdoors. Stay tuned for more Montana magic.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
As we say goodbye to snow and ice, people will be gearing up for hunting and fishing. Hundreds of young archers notched their arrows and took aim at targets in Helena this week as part of the National Archery in the Schools program tournament. This program benefits thousands of Montanans throughout the year. Some young hunters learned a thing or two as well. If you were born 1985 and sooner, you have to take a hunter's education course in order to get out there and hunt. As these waterways are clearing, you're going to see some anglers out there throwing out their lines. But there's a phenomenon that I want to tell you about that turns out isn't too uncommon. Finding a lot of dead fish this time of year. We're going to hear from Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks why that happens.
Students of all ages from across the Treasure State are using archery at the NASP Archery Tournament to hit their target goals in both the sport and through life.
I've learned with archery to never give up because you can shoot a 3 and then the next week you can go shoot a 300. It just takes a lot of practice and dedication.
Hundreds of those dedicated students represented more than 200 elementary, middle, and high schools from around the state. The NASP State Tournament, a national qualifier, is hosted by Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
And to see them working together, helping each other out, they're even scoring each other as they do the tournament. It's neat to see the schools, the kids, all coming together.
Competitors were as young as 4th grade and run through high school age, with both boys and girls competing. For many of the competitors, it is a way to make friends and learn more about teamwork.
My favorite part is just watching my team shooting, and it just motivates me to do better.
There are 2 parts to the tournament: bullseye target shooting from different distances and 3D targets representing a variety of animals. NASP offers safe in-school archery curriculum and provides benefits such as improving student focus and academic discipline. Dugan Coburn, an archery coach for multiple programs, has seen these benefits firsthand.
Component of it is just giving the kids a chance to be prideful and learn confidence in what they're doing. It's just, archery is a great thing because it goes for your whole life.
FWP provides basic archery instructor trainings and cost shares for equipment for teachers interested in starting NASP at their schools.
In Helena, I'm Madeline Heath, MTN News.
Now that Fish, Wildlife and Parks is in its new license year, folks across the state are gearing up for the upcoming hunting season. That also means Montana's younger population are in need of getting into hunter education classes.
Hunter education is required to be able to hunt in Montana if you were born after January 1st of 1985.
To make that happen, FWP is putting its training schedule online, so those who need it can get it before the season begins.
So far this year, we've held or have scheduled more than 50 classes across the state that are available, and that does not include the option of taking the class online and taking an in-person field day.
The in-person field day requirement is key for sending new hunters into the field safely.
How to be safe when you're in the field, how to handle a firearm safely, how to make good, responsible, ethical decisions when you're in the field in respect for wildlife and in respect for the sport, as well as respect for landowners and access wherever you are.
For the young people who take hunter education, it is a first step into the adult world. Field days put firearms in their hands, and skilled instructors show them the safe ways to use them. When completed, they're allowed to hunt just like an adult.
Priority is safety, and you know, a big part of learning that is getting hands-on practice with firearms, and that is something that this course provides, is that hands-on learning experience for people to provide an environment where they can learn, where they can develop safe habits and be successful in the field.
The online and in-person hunter education information can be found on the FWP website. By the way, Montana's general hunting season opens on Saturday, October 25th.
If you've been to Sacagawea Park in Livingston recently, you may have noticed an alarming sight. Dozens of dead fish lining the lagoon's edge. But according to Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, it's actually quite common.
This was an environmental issue that occurs naturally in many water bodies around the state every winter.
FWP's Morgan Jacobson says they believe the large fish killed to be a result of dissolved oxygen in the lagoon.
So what happens when a small water body like this freezes over in the winter, that ice essentially caps the oxygen that's in that water body until the ice melts off.
Jacobson says small water bodies like the Sacagawea Lagoon have a limited oxygen level already, causing reduced oxygen during the winter to become deadly for the fish.
Especially when there's organic matter or vegetation already in the pond, those things consume oxygen as well.
Jacobson explains that some of the fish that winter in the lagoon occur there naturally, like carp and brown trout, that make their way in from Fleshman Creek nearby.
But the pond is stocked usually around June with rainbow trout for the most part.
As for the dozens of fish killed by the lagoon's low winter oxygen levels, Jacobson says they will simply return back to the ecosystem.
Wildlife live and die naturally